Welcome to the Phaeton Football DraftKings Cash Game Picks for Week 4, 2017. This should be an interesting week. The main slate has fewer games than usual, and a bunch of the good quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson's are all not part of the main slate. And of course there are associated offensive players. So it should be an interesting week. Let's jump in. So for quarterback, I listed three here that I'm considering, plus an honorable mention. Tyrod Taylor strikes me as a great pick this week. Generally, we're going to want to spend down. I think we're going to need the money at running back and maybe a wide receiver. I think our money might be better spent than spending on quarterback. Tyrod Taylor's only 5,300. He's always good for some rushing. And he has a good chance of running in a touchdown himself. He's got a pretty good matchup with Atlanta. He is on the road, so it could be a disadvantage, but it is in Atlanta and they have turf, so for a running quarterback, it really could help his speed. Next up, we got Trevor Siemian. Oakland secondary is just horrible. The Denver Broncos are at home. It looks like Trevor Siemian, despite the nerd that you see there on the left, has grown up and is playing real football. So getting him in your lineups seems like a good choice if you don't like Tyrod Taylor. Finally, for expensive quarterbacks, there's not a lot of options, really. We've got Tom Brady and Matt Ryan at the top of the list, but my opinion is if you're going to pay up, you might as well pay for the GOAT. I don't love it. Carolina has a good defense, but New England has looked matchup proof and can always put up huge points. Just ask Houston last week. With the Patriots defense looking awful, this game could easily shoot out and be a high-scoring affair. Of course, in any shootout, you always want Tom Brady firing the bullets. Mentioned him as an honorable mention. Deshaun Watson, could potentially have a lot of upside. He's looked pretty good the last couple weeks, but I'm just not high on Deshaun Watson. I think he's been a little bit lucky over the first couple weeks, but I put him there as someone you could look at. Running backs. I've struggled to find a lot of value running backs that I like. But also too, a lot of the expensive running backs don't have the greatest matchups either. So, to me, this seems like an Ezekiel Elliott weekend. Just to go ham all over the Rams. He's got a great matchup at home. Cowboys are a big favorite. I think if they come up to any kind of lead, they're just going to give Zeke the ball and let him run all over it and grind out the clock. Added Christian McCaffrey to the list. He's been really the only effective offensive player for Carolina. He's been on the field for 75% of their snaps, and he's averaging over 7 targets a game. New England has historically struggled against pass-catching backs. So, this could be a really good matchup for Christian McCaffrey. He does feel a little bit risky in cash, just being a bit of a rookie and an unknown commodity. And not a huge runner between the tackles. But I think with the passing game work and the good chance that Carolina's in catch-up mode and passing the ball, I think Christian McCaffrey has every chance to succeed. I put up some of his metrics there. You can see he is just explosive and incredibly quick. He is an elite athlete. Despite what we might describe a white running back as gritty and sneaky athletic. You see him there in the picture. I don't think he should be sneaking up on anyone. He is an excellent athlete, and to be quite frank, I think a good football player. Leonard Fournette at 6,700, I think again is in a great place. Miami seems pretty content just to hand off the ball to Leonard Fournette and let him run down opponents. So against the Jets, I think there's a good chance that Leonard Fournette could just go off. The Jets have been gashed a few times, so I think this is a great spot for him. Dalvin Cook in Detroit. Dalvin Cook's been getting 20 attempts and 4 targets a game. He should get the vast majority of the work in what could be a pretty high-scoring game. So I definitely like Dalvin Cook, especially at home. The only really cheap option I felt comfortable with, especially in cash games, was C.J. Anderson versus Oakland. He's been getting over 75% of the snaps. The biggest downside is Jamal Charles is getting some of the passing work, but CJ's still gotten a couple of targets each game, so I still like him here. And if you're looking to save a little bit at running back or maybe put him in your flex, that could be a good option. At wide receiver, DeAndre Hopkins is at the top of my list. I think we're going to have a hard time getting to the top. The pricey studs like AJ Green and Julio Jones, they're just going to be a little bit too pricey, especially after you've used your expensive, or if you end up plugging in a couple of those expensive running backs. That said, you might be able to get one of them in if you go to the bottom of this list looking at Rishard Matthews and Tyrell Williams. Anyway, Hopkins has a great matchup. He has gotten over 28% of the market share. They are just throwing the ball to him on every play, every passing play. So I think this could be a throwback to the DeAndre Hopkins of a couple of years ago when all they did was throw him the ball. Next up are Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders from Broncos. Both of them are averaging almost 25% of the market share. They are both getting lots of targets. It's hard to pick, but I'd probably lead Sanders. You probably don't want to put both in your cash game lineups. That's adding quite a bit of risk, both upside and downside, so probably not worth it. But you could definitely stack Emmanuel Sanders with Siemian or Demaryius Thomas with Siemian in your cash game lineup, and I think I'd like that quite a bit. Adam Thielen, I think Diggs will most likely get shadowed by Darius Slay, the best corner on Detroit. So Thielen playing out of the slots should see a lot of quandary Diggs, who is not the good Diggs. He's not a particularly good player, and I think Adam Thielen's a good play in cash games and a great play in GPP. So he's one I think I'm going to have a lot of exposure to this week. Next up, we've got Rishard Matthew. He's been one of the most consistent receivers in football over the last couple of years. He's been getting a lot of targets, and he's definitely been the number one guy. With rookie Corey Davis out, sign me up for number one receiver on a good offense at less than 5K. Finally, at the bottom of the list, we've got Tyrell Williams. Great matchup. He's been getting lots of targets, lots of air yards. I think he's due for some regression. I don't think it's quite worked out for him this year, but at 4,400, that's just too cheap for what's a really good player. Looking at tight end, very similar to last week. I like Jared Cook and Eric Ebron again. So Jared Cook's going into Denver. Denver has been bad against the tight end the last couple of years. And Jared Cook, if Oakland watches the game tape from last week, they'll realize that he was open all the time, and with any luck, they'll try to get him the ball a little bit more. Eric Ebron, he had 7 targets last week. Only caught 2 of them, but he's got another good matchup for tight ends again with Minnesota. So I think it was just a rough day for him, and I think he'll be back. So definitely don't mind Eric Ebron here. Evan Ingram, the rookie for the Giants, he has had a sneaky good start to the year with 9.5, 14.9, and 8.4 fantasy points. Right out of the gate, he's gotten targets every game, and I would expect that to continue against Tampa Bay. So I think if you're looking for a cheap option, nothing wrong with looking at it. Evan Ingram. You can always look here too to go up to Gronk, but I think in cash games you definitely want to save money on the tight ends and look at using your money both at wide receiver and running back. For defense, we've got the Jaguars at the top of the list. They've looked stout all year. I think you can throw out their bad performance against the Titans. Titans have one of the best O-lines in the league, and I think they're probably close to matchup proof on offense. I'm not going to hold that one against the Jaguars. Also, they're going up against the woeful Jets, so I think it's all systems go for the Jaguars defense. Bengals are going up against the rookie Kaiser. Per playerprofile.com, he's both number one in interceptable passes and danger plays. I think there'll be some opportunities for the Bengals to pick off Kaiser, or at least he'll give them a chance. Picking on rookie quarterbacks is almost never a bad idea. For a cheap option, I really like the LA Chargers. They are, I think, way too cheap. They have a good secondary, and they're going up against Philadelphia and Carson Wentz, who, same metrics as before, as you can see here. He is number 4 in interceptable passes and number 2 in danger plays. The Chargers secondary is definitely good enough to capitalize on some of those errant throws and really make them pay. I mean, you can look at a picture of Carson Wentz there on the left. It's hard to believe that guy's a quarterback. Finally, if you're looking to go really cheap, the 49ers versus Arizona I think might be an interesting option. Arizona gave up 4 sacks to Indy in Week 2 and 6 sacks to Dallas in Week 3. Neither of those teams have ferocious pass rushes, so I think Arizona's offensive line is clearly not particularly good, and they could have a really tough time stopping the 49ers pass rushes. Especially since they're going to have to just pass constantly, so they don't really need to defend the run, and they can sell out on the pass rush quite a bit. Thank you very much for watching our video. If you have any comments, definitely let me know below. And definitely love to have you along for a subscriber. Check out some of our future videos here at Fate and Football. Take care. Good luck in Week 4.